Please welcome the creator and director of the Golden Trail War Series, the French rocket, Greg Volet.
Hello and welcome. Welcome to all. Hello, everybody.
Thanks for being with us today. First of all, how are you doing? How are you feeling after the 2022 season? It's been very exciting to compete and also follow the series. So just an update from you.
Yeah, on our side, it has been very emotional, excited, of course. We have worked really hard all year long to achieve, hopefully, what was one of the greatest years of the Golden Trail Series. And we are already planning next year. So never stop working. We always have new ideas, and we hope that we will surprise you again next year.
I'm pretty sure about that. There is always surprises in the Golden Trail Series. So before we dive in the concept and the calendar and the idea of the Golden Trail War Series, can you give to our audience a brief introduction of who you are and where you're from, and a bit of background about you?
Oh, so I'm getting old now. I'm 47 years old. I'm born at 100 near Paris, in Fontainebleau, where it's a beautiful forest to run, but also to ride a mountain bike.
So, where is it? Where Monet was painting, right?
Yes, exactly. In Barbizon. Yes. Yeah. And it's also very famous for bouldering there. And naturally, I start by running at 6 years old until I was 16, because my dad didn't want that I compete in cycling before 16. So at 16, at my birthday, I received my cycling license, and I was so happy. And I become a professional in mountain bike at 20 years old. During 7 years, I experienced a lot this professional life, and it inspired me a lot as well when I was coming in the trail running world, because I was able to take what was working well and to try to avoid what was not working. Mm-hmm. So it helps me a lot. So after my professional career, I was a product manager for cycling, and during 9 years, I changed 3 times work, but always in the cycling world. And I arrived in Salomon Company in 2010 as the sports marketing manager. And since the beginning, I was working more to develop the sport. And developing the sport, it will grow the market and the sales for all the trail running brands. So that was a little bit my strategy since the beginning. I created the Golden Trail in 2015. Well, this is where I start to work on, but the first year was really in 2018 that it has been released. And now, since from 2023, I will really, my job will be really director of the Golden Trail World Series, and I will focus just on that now.
Yeah, so of course I knew you decided to go all in the Golden Trail War Series, and that's what we will be diving in right now. So how did this idea come to life? How did it start? And where does it come from? Can you tell us a little bit about, the very beginning of the Golden Trail War Series and how it's grown over the years?
Sure. Well, in 2011. From 2011, we were sponsoring the skyrunning and pushing really hard with them to develop the sport. But in 2014, we were not super happy about the visibility. We were asking for more and more in terms of communication. And we were not very happy about the level of people we were able to reach with this series. And so we were starting to think about what could be the next level. And in 2015, I made some meetings with many different brands, like Scott, like Compressor Sport, like La Sportiva, or different brands. And we met 3 times. And we were working on a project that was the Golden Trail series, managed by multi-brands, a pool of brands. And the idea was really to think that all the brands will invest all together at the same place to develop this series. And after more than 6 months of meetings all together, the brands were afraid to be in the Salomon shadow in this series, and they decided to not continue. So we were thinking that, okay, we really need to move on, to continue this idea, but instead we will do it alone. So this is what I've worked in 16 and 17 to prepare everything and to launch it properly in 18.
So 2018 was the first year of the Golden Trail World Series. So you mentioned you were not really satisfied with the people you were reaching when you used to be sponsoring the skyrunning circuit. What is the target of the Golden Trail World Series? What people you aim to reach in terms of audience, but also athletes?
So in terms of athletes, we wanted to be a little bit more open than only technical runners.
Yeah, skyrunning is a bit like a niche of trail running, which is the bigger bucket.
So that's why on the Golden Trail, we were thinking to develop 3 technical races and 3 more runnable races, 3 short distance and 3 long distance, to try to open the series to the maximum of running profile. And in terms of audience, we were searching, and we are still searching to reach the largest audience as possible, and to go on TV. Just for your information, the TV series that we did this year, Chasing Dreams, has been released on 140 TV channels around the world, and we overpassed the 10 million views. So this is this kind of audience that we are searching for to elevate the sport to a new level.
Yeah, I think something that is very cool about this project and the whole idea you were trying to describe is that, you know, to create this project of the Golden Trail World Series, it's not much about like competing against the other brands or the other circuits, but like growing the market and the fans and the athletes who practice trail running. So like the cake will become bigger for everyone, and there will be more opportunities both for athletes and of course for the brands, because after all, if the series is private and it's sponsored by a brand, it needs to have a return for its investment, I believe. So that is something that ultimately I think is very good for the sport. We were talking about the races that are part of the series. I think it's also a mix of like well-established iconic races, and over the years you have also included some new entries. Can you list maybe the main ones and talk about why each race is special for the trail running world?
Yeah, the first one of the season is Zegama. This is a legendary race, I would say. Why the specificity of this race is the spectators. You did it. You finished the race. You have pain in the ears and not in the legs. I think this year they beat the record of spectators with 30,000 spectators, and you think you are in the Alpe d'Huez of the Tour de France. This is something so special that we wanted to replicate on all the races, the fan zone, and this is what we are trying to push every year. But Zegama is unbeatable.
It's very special, yeah. There is a fan zone for every race of the Golden Trail World Series, except that in Zegama the fan zone is like 3 kilometers long or more. So yeah, thousands and thousands of people, and of course it's an historic, iconic race in the Basque countries. So that is the first stage usually, and this year 2023 actually it will be on March 14th.
No, May 14th.
May 14th. Yeah,
May
sorry.
14th. Yes, it's 2 weeks before it was simply because of elections.
Okay.
And then there is the Mont Blanc Marathon. So of course, a well-established races where this year they beat the record of the registration request with more than 22,000 requests of people who want to register to the race.
Oh.
So this is huge.
Yes.
Of course, it creates a lot of frustration to 17,000 people. So it's big, but it shows the attractivity around this race. And on the brand village, just to give you some numbers, in this year's more than 56,000 people were coming on the brand village. So it's also with one race with one of the best landscape you can have, because when you are coming back on the south side, north side of the valley, you have really the Mont Blanc just in front of you when you are running, and it's a beautiful place. And since this year, the finish line will be every year downtown, and it creates a way bigger atmosphere than before.
Of course, yeah, it's basically the mecca of trail running in Chamonix. So for sure, a very important place for the sport.
And I would say that the third more important race is Sierre-Zinal, sorry.
Yes.
It will be the 50 years of the race in 2023. You can imagine the whole history of this race. And it's one of the races that have a particularity. It's the record and the time. Most of the race, the place that you finished, but you don't pay that much attention at your time, or it's because you beat the record. But on this race at Sierre-Zinal, it's closer to a road running mindset.
Yes.
And the marathon distance. It means that the time you want to finish before you start, and you cross the finish line, and you are happy if you realize the time you were expected or not. And this is the only trail running race I know that has this spirit, this approach.
Yeah, that is true. It's a very peculiar race, very fast. There is a lot of elevation gain, but it's non-technical, so quite fast. And for some reason, for the tradition, for the runners, it has attracted, I think, the times count a lot. So even if maybe you're not winning the race, but you're there and you're running sub 3 hours or whatever, it's still a great achievement.
And Pikes Peak Marathon or Pikes Peak Ascent, this is the oldest race. I think it was the 69 years old, or I don't remember exactly. But it's very old, and there is a mythical record from Matt Carpenter from 1993 that nobody is able to beat. And when you are there, there is a special feeling. You feel the history of this race. It's different of what we know in Europe.
Yes.
And I think that it creates also this legend of Pikes Peak.
Yes, it's true. I think part of it is the place, like the actual trail where Pikes Peak is run, is the Park Trail, is very spectacular. Like the landscape is in Colorado is amazing. And then the spirit around the race, being in Colorado, in America, the community of trail running in the United States is quite different from Europe. Even if the race is like still organized in somewhat an old-fashioned way, like it's not as huge as things are, for example, in Chamonix, as we're used to see for Mont Blanc Marathon or UTMB. The community is very close, there is always like good vibes. So for sure, a place to be in September.
And then with the agreement of the athletes, we are trying to switch and to run different races every year, so to have new races for the athletes to explore new trails, new territory, to meet new communities as well. And that's why, for example, this year we are going in Norway. That's why we are going in Flagstaff. That's why next year we are coming back to Dolomites. That is, of course, a legendary race as well. And that we will go to a new one in California, Mammoth Trail Fest. So that's really to make sure the athletes don't get bored with the races we are proposing. And the final is always, most of the time, designed, created just for us. It's a one-shot race most of the time, and we are trying to always surprise the runners, I would say.
I would say so. Even the locations are pretty exotic. You went to, I think it was South Africa for the first edition, then Nepal, and then of course we had the Golden Trail World Championship in 2020 in the Azores, which was a very particular edition of the Golden Trail World Series, which we'll talk about later. Then we went to El Hierro, where I actually won. And this year, of course, it was Madeira.
Yes. And next year, it will Italy. Be in your home. Yeah, yes. Italy.
Cool. Nice. And then I think we were talking together with you and the athletes during this season, and there is plans to expand towards Asia and maybe South America or Africa in the future. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, this is a wish. Mm-hmm. This is a long-term vision. Of course, it's true to expand in Asia. Why? Because we have some Asiatic runners coming on our series, and we don't have any race in Asia today. We will be able to expand when we will have more budget, because it costs a lot, of course. To put two races in Asia. I believe that putting one races is not a good idea. We need to have, as in the US or North America, two races in a row to avoid too many connection transfer. But I hope it will happen. We have already the Golden Trail National Series in Japan.
Okay.
We will have one in South Korea next year as a new one. And we are talking with Australia and China for 2024.
Nice, very nice. So can you maybe talk a little bit more in detail about the rules? Since you also mentioned the Golden Trail National Series, which is like the national version of the Golden Trail World Series. And like, how does it work for the runners who want to get involved and compete in the series?
Yeah, so why this Golden Trail National Series? It's really to open it to everyone. I mean that it costs a lot of money if you really want to follow the Golden Trail World Series, because you have to travel. But if you want to follow the Golden Trail National Series, it's affordable for most of the runners. I mean that you take your car and you are taking part of the 2 or 3 closest race near your home, and you will be part of the overall ranking. And even if you don't have any sponsor, if you are a good athlete, that you finish top 3, men or women, you will be invited and fully covered to reach the final. And at the final, you will compete with the best athletes in the world. You will show your level, and potentially you will be able to reach a sponsor for the following year. And even if you don't reach any sponsor, the top 3 men and women of the final Golden Trail National Series is invited the following year to take part of 3 Golden Trail World Series and to make sure, well, all of them until now get sponsors.
Yeah.
It's also a very good series to nurture the brand teams. And I'm not talking only about Salomon. I mean that
of course.
Last year it was the North Face, Dynafit, and Innovate who took the GTNS podiums. You know, so
yeah.
And this is also for me a big achievement. It means that brands are really recruiting now directly on the Golden, and it's a real proof of credibility.
Yeah. You know, I can speak for my personal experience. In my contract with Nike, for example, of course, I have bonuses specifically for the Golden Trail World Series races and final. So they're actually valuing that a lot. And I think also that compared to the very first years, like 2018, 19 of the Golden Trail World Series, we've seen a lot more athletes from different brands competing and also winning in the Golden Trail Series. Like, of course, Ninka from Nike, Killian is normal, but also Ali McLaughlin on running, Jonathan Albon, North Face. So it's a sign that the sport is growing. There is more diversity. The brands are investing and probably also putting some pretty good prize money or bonuses for their athletes to compete in those races, because they understand the value that there is for an athlete in competing and winning in the Golden Trail World Series.
Yes, so, and I can tell you that the last Mercato between brands has been very hard, and the price of the athletes were much more higher than before. And thanks to the Golden, many athletes will be fully professional next year. That was not the case this year. So
it's great.
The salary almost doubled in 2 years.
Yeah, that's great. And basically how you do that is through communication, which is a big focus of the Golden Trail Series. So can you talk a little bit about that? You know, about the media team, the photographers, camera runners, video makers, social media managers. It's a huge team, almost as big as the athletes traveling with the Golden Trail Series. When we were in the United States for the 2 stages this summer, basically it was half athletes and half media team, because you're putting a lot of emphasis on the communication.
Yeah, we are bothering a lot the athletes.
in a good way, I think. Like, I mean, personally, it's fun. Sometimes you have to plan a little bit in advance before the races, because you end up always having commitments and more things to do than you expect. But it's for a good reason. Like, it's important to not just be an athlete in terms of results, but also to communicate what you're doing, because you're able to inspire people and show them what running professionally is about.
Yeah, I often say that being a professional athlete in the 90s or 2000, like I was before, it was easy.
Pretty easy, yeah.
The focus was training, performing, and answering interviews from journalists. And that's it. Nowadays, it's completely different. You mean all the athletes have to develop their own brands, their own image. They have to create content every day. They need to be creative. They need to have a large community of people on social media. And this is what a professional athlete is today. It's no more only about performance. And this is why you have also influencers that are not performance, but they are also very important for a brand, because they are reaching an audience that an athlete don't reach. And this is where, with the Golden Trail, we are focusing. We want to be different in terms of communication, and we are creating viral TikTok videos, or we are doing artistic pictures, and we are doing a 26 minutes video recap after each race, and we are doing a TV series and live coverage. So this is a team of 32 people when there is the live coverage. So all together that are traveling to each race. And we are trying our best to share our passion. We want to share the emotions that you as athletes are providing us. And even if the people are not on site, they can feel it. And this is why we are trying to reach the people from different way. It could be on Insta stories, because it's short, and to cover the race in 5 minutes, you have seen everything that happened during the race. Or you can be in front of your TV and spend 7 episodes of 26 minutes in your sofa watching what happened during the year. It's 2 different audience. You will not go the same way, deep in the same way with people. We also have a TikTok channel, for example, and if we analyze it, we can see that they don't care about who is featuring in this TikTok video. It's more about what are you providing them in terms of videos, if it's funny or whatever. And Instagram is totally different. Mm-hmm. If you put an athlete that is famous, then it will work more than if it's someone who is not. So we have to adapt also with the algorithm of each social media channels. But we are reaching now the TV. And next year in 2023, we will have 3 races that will be live on TV. And that will be the new step that we are working on. And we are super excited about this new move for 2023.
Of course. Yeah, I think each platform has its peculiarities and its way to tell stories. So of course, telling a race on Instagram is different than TikTok or Facebook, and then on YouTube, where you usually do the recaps, the 26 minutes recap after each race. And also, I think the TV series Chasing Dreams is not much about like recapping the season, but telling the stories behind the athletes and like show the people what is behind the life of a pro athlete, in not just, you know, results, but there is a lot of cool people that have good stories to tell. So I think that's a little bit the idea. Focusing a little bit on the live coverage and the possibility to go on TV screens, I think one of the biggest steps that the Golden Trail Series has made in trail running is like broadcasting the races live, because that basically didn't exist before the Golden Trail Series. And then now everyone wants to do that and is starting to adapt. We've seen that, for example, in the UTMB World Series, Aravaipa in the United States is also doing a good job in terms of broadcasting the race. So can you talk a little bit about that, and also how difficult it is logistically to film a trail race, because it takes, you know, a lot of first of all, good runners, experienced people, very good photographers. So what is it like?
Yeah, it's true that when you watch it, you don't think about how it's filmed.
Yeah,
and
not so much.
And sometimes it's a bit of magic that we are able to create this coverage.
It's not like filming a road cycling race, for sure.
It would be easy to film with a motorbike on a road, like a road marathon. It's the same, you know, it's so easy to film.
Yeah.
It started in 2017, maybe 16, at the very beginning. You know, it was when Facebook launched the live. It was possible to do a live on Facebook. So I think it was in 2016. And we were thinking, imagine if we can film a race live on Facebook. It would be awesome. So at the Mont Blanc Marathon, I put my phone directly on my helmet, and I was filming live the first part of the race until there is no 4G, and it started from there. Then in 2018, we were working with the same company that is filming the Tour de France, and we realized how difficult it will be. So we were having, so I take the example of the Mont Blanc Marathon. At that time, we were having only 2 mountain bike filming. Now we are 4. And we have 4 camera runners. So you need to imagine that the camera runners, they have a backpack of 3 kilos, because they have the battery, they have the emitters, they have everything. Plus, they need to run with a GoPro, and to stabilize as much as possible the GoPro, to make sure that they are filming the athletes in their screen, and potentially we ask them to film the athletes with the landscape behind, and not only from the back to not bother the athletes, but also a little bit on the side, sometime on the front. And the athletes, it's super hard to follow, the best athletes of the world as you are. and they blew up quite quickly. But I remember at the Mont Blanc marathon, once we used Zegama from Ireland, and he was filming Davide Manini when he won the full climb to go up to La Flégère. And I remember the comments behind the on YouTube that who is able to run as fast as Davide during so long in this climb, and nobody knew it was Zach, of course.
Yeah.
And the following week, he was becoming a European champion of mountain running. So of VK, I think. So it was funny, and you need to understand that behind the cameras, it's elite runners, and it's runners who want to share their passion and who want to help to make sure that their sport will grow.
Yeah.
And we have also a Olympic champion in mountain bike, Miguel Martinez, who is coming to film and everything. So there is a strong athletes as well behind the cameras, and we have drones for IRL views and fixed cameras as well, because we sometimes has also some technical issues with some cameras, etc. So we try to have as more plan B as possible along the way.
Yeah. Another example is Anna Kufer, for example, that is involved in the media team of the Golden Trail World Series. And she used to be she still is a runner, but she, for example, she won the downhill segment series in the Golden Trail World Championship in 2020. And that shows how good of an athlete she is. So that's just another example of the people behind the scenes that work for the Golden Trail World Series. That's really cool. Let's talk a little bit about the figure of the elite athletes. They're an active part in shaping the future of the Golden Trail World Series because they have a voice in the decision. You always send surveys and you listen to their advice. And this year you were even thinking about creating a board of athletes to take part in the decisions and the rules of the Golden Trail World Series. What do you think about that?
For me, it's key. I mean that we are not creating this series for having business. It's not. We are not earning money with this series. So this series is made for the athletes, and this is why the athletes must be at the center of the decision that we are taking. So we are every year having meetings or survey that we are sending after the season with questions that will help us to develop the rules of the following year or to improve what was not well done during the past season. And we are really paying attention to all the answers.
Yeah. And how is your idea of professionalization of the figure of the athlete? For example, how is the relationship with sponsors? Because I think for some athletes and especially some brands, it's still difficult to make them understand the value that there is behind competing in the Golden Trail World Series and particularly, placing well. So how has that grown over the years? And can you maybe give some example of athletes who were able to get opportunities and contracts, maybe thanks to the exposure they had in the Golden Trail Series?
Yeah, I think in 2018, when we launched the Golden Trail Series for the first year, it was a little bit not well seen as the Salomon Series,
Yeah.
Well, so on all the races, it was more Salomon athletes.
Mostly Salomon athletes, yeah. That was the fear by many people,
yes.
by many brands, for sure.
Yeah. But then they realized that it was on this series that we were doing the biggest communication, and that if an athlete wants to be visible, this is where he has to be. Of course, we developed the bonuses, but the communication for the brands are very important. And we have seen, as I said, the past years, more and more brands recruiting specific athletes for the Golden Trail Series. That was not the case before, because the light was given more and more to the ultra.
Yeah.
And the short distance was a little bit not at the same level, I would say. But with this Golden Trail Series, we completely changed the trail running landscape. And now this is certainly the best formula we have to go on TV, because it's sharp, it's short, it's excited, there is suspense until the end. There is one runners every 30 seconds because of the density, and you never know who will win until the end. People are taking a risk as well, so you have some falls, you have some fight sprint until the end, and this is something that is more difficult to see on ultra distance, and this is what we are trying to highlight as well, because this is what the spectators want to see.
Yes. Do you see it as a competition with the ultra distances and, for example, the UTMB World Series, or are you trying to, to devote, like, to get the attention from a different segment of the sport? How do you see?
I think there is places for everyone. The trail running for Salomon, for example, they need to be everywhere. They need to be on short distances, on VK, on ultra distances, but also on lifestyle. And for all the brands, it's the same. They will not prioritize one distance versus another one. But on our side, with the Golden, what we want is to reach an audience on TV that could be comparable to the cyclocross, for example, or the biathlon. It's just to see that a 2 hours program could fit perfectly on TV. And this is what we will try to achieve in 2023.
Yeah, that is something for sure that the ultra cannot aim at, because of course the races are much longer. They're still very exciting to follow,
of course,
but in a different format. Like, everyone is very excited about UTMB, but I don't think anyone stays in front of the TV for 20 hours to watch Kilian and Mathieu battling together, or Katie Scheid or Courtney. Okay, so maybe let's talk a little bit about this past season. What are the athletes and the performances that impress you the most? And maybe what was your favorite race to watch from the outside?
It depends if you include the final or not.
Oh, yeah.
Because for me, the final was spectacular.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
The landscape first.
Yeah.
And, having a 5-day stage race is totally different. It creates a lot of stories. Obviously, with the segment, we had some spices to the race. And we have seen also a big emulation of the Golden Trail National Series team ranking. And that was new this year. And it was a big success. So this is something that we will continue as well next year. And in terms of athlete, Rémi Bonnet, the final was just on another planet.
Yeah.
It was crazy because when we were waiting for him, he was alone a few minutes in front of the others, and you were thinking, well, there is no level or what? And then you were watching the name of the following guys, like Petro Mamu, like Eluzin, like Manuel Marias, like the best in the world, you know.
Daniel Zans, yeah.
And you were thinking, no, but the level is good. It's just that Remy is running on another planet, you know. And so, of course, I was really impressed. And then we have seen a lot of fight along the year. That was also very nice with new athletes coming, like Sophia Laukley. I was expecting her to be strong, but not that strong from the first one. So it was super interesting. We have seen also for other runner like Eli, you know, like Sam Hendry, like new runners coming every year to the Golden and achieving a great result. And this is also what is nice is that every year the density is growing, and it's more and more difficult to finish top 10 for any athlete.
I can confirm. Yes. I think also the season of Danny Ozens was really good. Another athlete that deserves a mention. Also, the athletes of Team CIDAS Matrix, they deserve a mention. That is always a very strong team with a very cool concept behind. Because they didn't pick the best of the sport, but they were growing the talents from when they were young. For example, Anthony Filber and Elise Ponce, that they did very, very well in this year series. So,
and we have seen Malen Osa, for example, in final, 19 years old, and certainly one of the future stars of the sport. Yes.
Cool. And then, yes, Remy was unbelievable. I think on the final, he had such a strong finish in his season from the 2 US races, Pikes Peak and Flagstaff, which he won.
And Nyenke as well.
And then Nyenke, It was very interesting to see how she was challenged by Sophia, for example, in Flagstaff, because at one point in the race, Sophia was actually in front of her. Then with her speed, she managed to catch up and finish in front, but it was just by maybe less than a minute, I think. And the density of the girls with Maud, Ninke, Ali Mac, Sophia was just incredible, I think.
Yeah, and imagine next year, the next fight where Judith Wieder will come back as well.
Yes.
We will see a strong fight on male and female. It will be crazy again. Crazy.
Madness.
Yes.
Awesome. Now a curiosity, what's your typical day on race day? Like, what do you typically do on race day? Because, you know, I'm an athlete. I just need to focus on competing. But I imagine that for you, like, you know, planning the day and just managing the whole team, it must be pretty difficult.
I would say that the race day, it's almost the easiest day of the week for me. Because all the work is done before. So I'm just paying attention about the coordination of the team, make sure that everything is well done also on the start area. And then it depends. Or I'm working on the live coverage, helping to give, you know, the name of the runners to the commentators, or to try to give as much or as information I get along the way to help the commentators. Or I'm filming also. It happens that I took a mountain bike, an e-bike, and I'm filming or running as well. For example, in Madeira, I had the mission to film the downhill segment every day.
Which I know you like.
Yes, so I like it so much that it's a full pleasure, of course, a pleasure for me.
Yeah.
And after the finish line, of course, I pay attention to the ceremonies and make sure that everything is well done, and potentially make sure the party after party is well organized too.
Awesome. Yep. Maybe my last question. Actually, I have a couple. For new athletes coming to the sport and wanting to focus their season on the Golden Tour Series, what opportunities do you offer? And how easy it is to take part in the Golden Tour Series, whether you're sponsored by a brand or not?
Well, if you are strong enough, first you need to get a bib. It's not easy at Zegama, for example, because it's a very limited number of people due to the national park. But at the Mont Blanc Marathon, it's more easy, I would say, if you are a good runner and you have more than 850 points, you can get a bib. And then if you finish top 20, you will have a free bib for the next race. If you finish top 10, you will have your free bib, but you will have also all your expenses covered for the next race that you want to.
So it's the travel and accommodation.
Yes. So we are really trying to help all the athletes, sponsor or not, to continue the series and give their best, hopefully for them to reach the final. And in 2023, we will put bonuses to the top 20 overall. So it will reward all the athletes who give fidelity to the series.
Yes. And then, of course, I think people must understand that the main value maybe is not, the prize money that they get at each race or at the final, but the exposure they can get, and also the possibility to compete against the best athletes in the world, which has a lot of value, and they can use that to improve their visibility and their status as elite athletes also, which is why the overall project is growing, I think.
Yes, of course, the athletes that are getting good results can really negotiate well with their sponsor financial contract at the end of the year as well. So we are helping the sport to become more and more professional at the end. And if the TV are coming, it will be even more in the coming years.
Yeah. Can you give an advice maybe to the young athletes who are approaching the sport and maybe they already have competed in the Golden Tour Series, but they want to negotiate a contract? How do you approach a brand and make them understand the value, for example, of what you're doing and the fact that you're competing in the Golden Tour Series?
I would say that the best moment to approach the brands are in August or September, to start to initiate a conversation with them and to start to plan a potential budget for the following year is the best moment, because the brand's budget has not been worked yet. And you need to show the visibility, your visibility. So it's on social media. It means that more you will have a large community on social media, and more you will be important for a brand. But it's also about your performance.
Yes.
And when it's related to your performance, then you will use the visibility of the Golden Trail, showing, look, this is I'm on the TV series and we have more than 10 million views. This is a very good visibility for a brand. Or there is a race recap that is released in 140 TV channels around the world, and I'm on it. You know, it shows the credibility of your product. So this is a little bit the approach you can have, and we have young runners coming every year to the Golden, and this is also something specific to the Golden, is that our average age is going down and down year after year, and this is also very interesting, is that there is a turnover that it's coming every year from the ones that are having 20 years old and coming totally fresh to this Golden, and it offers always a new surprise every year, and that's really cool. We don't see this in the other distances too.
Yeah, I agree. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I think it's the end of my questions, and we will see each other at the first stage in Zegama.
I hope, yes.
Yeah. I need to go back and do well, because last year it was like my comeback after the surgery at the elbow.
True.
I was starting to get in shape, but then the race didn't go well after the first downhill. But yeah, for sure, it's the place to be in May.
Yeah, mid-May it could be rainy and muddy. So let's see.
This year we had really good conditions. In fact, both the men's and women's records were broken by Kylian Jornet and Nienke Brinkman.
Yes.
But I need to experience the legendary Zegama weather, which is like rainy and muddy and very
the crowd
slippery.
again, the crowd.
And the crowd, of course. Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much, and all the best for 2023.
Thank you very much, Francesco, and we see you soon.
Yep. Thank you everyone for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.